So in this video, we're going to discuss lymph. If you've ever woken up with puffy eyes, puffy face, maybe feeling a little tired, your brain's a little sluggish, that could be lymph. So in this video, we're going to discuss what lymph is, what its purpose is, and how we can combat all of those symptoms. So stay tuned. Hello, my name is Desiree and welcome to a video about lymph. Now, before you go, it sounds a little boring, but if you have ever woken up and had puffy eyes, feeling tired, a little bit of brain fog, then this video can explain some things. And we'll also talk about some tools in which you can alleviate those symptoms. And a lot of those things, they work almost instantaneously. So this video that I watched is actually from Dr. Andrew Huberman, and this video popped up on my feed, not even sure how. Well, he's a neuroscientist, right? And I'm interested in all kinds of science, especially things that have to deal with the mind, psychology. So I can see why this may have popped onto my feed, but it could also have something to do with fascia, because I was doing a lot of research on the fascia as well. And the lymphatic system is tied to the fascial system, and we'll explain that in just a moment. But anyway, this video is about an hour and a half long video. It's a total nerd video. It explains everything, but I'm going to give you a nice little concise synopsis. And if you are interested in all of the scientific terms and how things work, I will link the video in the box below. Okay, so lymphatic system. I've got my notes here in my trusty notebook. So I'll be referring to them to make sure I don't forget anything. So the lymphatic system is definitely related to our immediate and our long-term health. And the reason being is because it's basically a waste removal system. Okay. And we have lymphatic vessels, we have lymphatic capillaries, and basically it's like our vein system, except it only moves the lymph around. Okay. And the lymph is fluid. It's basically waste from cellular activity. And without getting too much in the weeds and without getting too detailed, it's a clear, not quite liquid, but not quite gel type fluid, and it moves throughout your lymphatic system. So what it does is it removes the waste after your body does what it needs to do, and it kind of goes in between cells, and it needs to get back into the bloodstream so that it can get properly processed by your other body parts, the liver, kidneys, whatnot. So it's got to get back to the blood. And in order to do that, it goes through the lymphatic system. And what's interesting about the lymphatic system is that it's a one-way highway. And basically, it's going up towards your heart and coming down this way. But it goes up and it only goes one way. And so there's not a pump like the heart, which moves the blood around. But the way that it moves, which is very interesting, is by us movement, right? You can do it by exercise. You can do it by breathing even. It's not, the breathing is a little bit more, there's a certain type of breathing that you need to do, but there's many ways to move lymph around. And let's see, let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So not only is it getting the contaminants out of your body back into the bloodstream, but it's also sort of taking a pulse of these things too, right? So in the lymph nodes, the most popular are these, right? When we get sick, the doctor will feel right here. And just because your lymph node is swollen doesn't necessarily mean that you're sick. It basically means that there's some fluid sitting in here and it's being evaluated to see if it's under threat or something like that, right? If there is a contaminant, if there's a virus, fungus, whatever. And if there is, it sends an alert system to the immune system. It sends an alert to the immune system. And then, the T cells, whatever, everybody gets up in arms and ready to battle this thing, right? So I just want to be clear that just because you have a swollen lymph node doesn't necessarily mean that you're sick. It just means that there's some stuff in there that's being evaluated. We'll think of it like maybe purgatory, okay? Oh, I'm having some chamomile tea. There is a full moon tonight. It's in the full moon of the constellation of Cancer, and I'm getting my moon water ready to put outside. So I am excited about that. It's been a while since I've made some moon water, and I have actually run out. Well, I have a system, right? So I have one that I use and one that's backup. Well, I'm on my backup right now. I don't have another backup, I guess you could say. So anyway, I'm in the process of making some moon water, and it is in the constellation of Cancer. A lot of people will say that is in the that it's full moon in Leo, but there's a very different energy going on right now, in my opinion. So all right, I digress. So the lymph, now the lymph's job is to, like I said, get those contaminants, that waste, we'll call it waste, product out of the interstitial area, which is the area between cells, and get that back into the blood so that your body can filter it out. Now, let's see. So the movement of the lymph, like I said, only goes one way. Okay, there's not a pump. And so in order for us to get this lymph moving and grooving, we've got to be moving and grooving. And that, of course, is one of the symptoms of not moving enough, is that our body gets slow, muscles get tight, and it's because there's a buildup of lymphatic fluid. Okay, and we don't want the buildup of the lymphatic fluid, because it's essentially a waste product that needs to be removed, and that can lead to all kinds of different health issues, both long-term and short-term as well. Long-term being things like lymphedema, and it can cause inflammation as well. And short-term being the puffiness that you feel, brain fog, the lethargy, and so it's important for us to get that out of our body. Now, ways that we can get out of our body, of course, exercise is not a bad thing. There's many different things that you can do. Going swimming, I heard, was the best, because the lymph, there's lymph vessels everywhere. There's some deep in the muscle tissue, there's some right on the surface as well. And so when you're swimming, of course, that muscle movement will massage the lymph and get it flowing, but also the surface of the water tension moves the skin in a way, kind of ripples it, and so it moves the sort of surface level, subcutaneous, I guess we could say, lymph. It gets that moving as well. So swimming is an excellent way. Now, a lot of us don't have pools, and so another way that we can move lymph is actually jumping on a trampoline. They call it rebounding now. I guess that's the adult term. And so I remember my grandmother had a tiny little trampoline, and she would jump on it. She would just jump and jump and jump, and I just thought it was the craziest thing just to see my grandma do that. But she was exercising, and it was something that was popular in the 80s, but it seems to be making a comeback. And there's a reason why, is because that bouncing up and down gets the lymph moving. Not only does it produce, the cardiovascular exercise, but it also gets us sweating, which is also another way to get toxins and stuff out of our body. But the bouncing up and down gets the lymph moving. And again, the lymph only moves in one direction. So it's coming up from our feet, and then of course coming down from this area, because it needs to get back into the heart. There's like two ducts right here that receive the lymph and push it back into the blood system. So let's see. Oh, and the fascia. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the fascia is like a thin, almost like bodysuit that goes around all of our muscles throughout our entire body. Think of it as like a wetsuit, right? If you've ever, for those people who eat meat, if you've seen that thin layer of not muscle tissue and not like the skin of the animal. And I'm sorry of those of you who are vegan, vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for 3 years of my life, and then the thought of meat just like repulsed me. So I do apologize. But for that thin tissue that can be peeled off, that is the fascia. And so when our fascia gets tight, our entire body feels tight. It feels like almost feels like sore muscles. And if we get moving, get our fascia moving, some light massage as well, that helps to get the lymph going as well. So just moving around, moving your body. Now, one of the things that I do during work to make sure that I'm always moving is I use a Pomodoro timer. Every 55 minutes, I take a 3-minute break, and then I get, after 3-minute breaks, I get a 7-minute break, and then I have a 15-minute break. But anyway, so during those 3 and 7 minutes, I go for a walk. I move around. I walk around my little office area. I do some stretches. I have really tight quads and really tight hips, so I'm stretching those areas. One thing that I did do also is I got a standing desk, and that was actually donated to me by somebody in my office. So that was just a complete like fluke that I even got that. But so now I stand a lot while I'm working, and I'm also moving my legs, moving side to side, because I was having lots of issues. It was to the point where my legs were aching, just aching. And I went for massages, and the lady's like, you need to exercise. And I'm like, I am so tired, there's no way. I don't want to go for a walk after working, you know. So I'm finding that what happened was, not only was I just sitting too much, but my fascia was also getting stuck. And it was through my massage therapist that she told me about the fascia. She was like, your fascia is just so stiff. And I'm like, what is that? So we got into this whole long conversation, and that's what brought me to my YouTube fascination with fascia. So and then come to find out that the fascia has a little bit to do with the lymph as well. So not only does moving help, there's something called diaphragmatic breathing, in which you take a really deep breath in to where your stomach is sort of bulging out, and then a slow exhale. Okay. And do that. Actually, Dr. Huberman said to do that 3 or 4 times, not even a lot. And, a few times a day as well. And so I started incorporating that within my 3-minute breaks. And that, just doing that breathing, there's some sort of muscular system that's right here, that when you do the diaphragmatic breathing, it pushes the lymph. It gets the lymph moving just by doing that type of breathing. There's also shaking. You'll see some people who, especially those who do the Tai Chi, they shake, and they shake their limbs and stuff like that. And that's another thing that works as well. I started doing that in my morning stretch routine, is incorporating the shaking. And it kind of gets me going. I do that bounce that like athletes do when they're getting ready to go to battle. They jump up and down on their tippy toes. And me just incorporating these movements into my daily routine has, I've seen a large improvement. My legs are not achy anymore. I'm not as stiff. And I'm only 45 years old, so I really shouldn't be seeing this type of, muscle tightness, right? And I've come to believe that the reason why this muscle tightness comes, not because we're getting older, but because we stop moving so much. And I can attest to that, because I used to be an avid dancer. I was part of a group in which we did ceremonial dances, and I practiced at least 3 times a week. And not only that, we had ceremonies in which we danced for a couple of hours. We also did performances for certain cultural events and things like that. And so when I stopped doing all of that, I saw a decline in my mobility. I saw a decline in my flexibility and just an overall decline in my health. I ended up gaining a little bit of weight, and that was because I stopped moving so much. And that was about 3 years ago. So I fully believe that movement is the fountain of youth, right? Just keeping those body parts moving, keep moving that lymph around, because we don't need that stagnant waste that our cells produce just to keep us alive. We don't need to keep that in here in our bodies. We need to move it out so that it can get processed. There's also lymphatic massage. Now, Dr. Huberman said that this needs to be done by a professional. He does not recommend pressing on the lymphatic nodes, the lymph nodes, if they're heavy or if they're full, or if they're painful or whatever. He said not to press on them because the lymph node has a job to do, and he said basically that is interfering. So let's see. Lymph nodes, so kept for surveillance. Now, one of the things that he did say is that the brain has its own lymphatic draining system, and that was recently discovered. So there, you actually have lymph nodes in your brain as well. And believe it or not, the lymph nodes do their job while you're sleeping. And so that's where the brain fog issue comes in, right? The brain fog comes in is because you didn't properly remove the lymph from your brain that night or the night before. And so it's actually clouding that area. There's essentially waste in the brain, and so your brain's not able to work in optimal conditions. So you have the brain cloud, brain fog, I guess we should say. Well, fog is cloud. Let me take a little bit of water here. Okay, sometimes I just need something cool as opposed to warm. All right, so it's important to get a good amount of sleep. Now, 8 hours, I think, is the recommended time frame. And if you get less than 8 hours, the symptoms are going to occur. The brain fog, the puffiness, the tiredness of the legs, the lower extremities, because the lymph didn't process. Now, when you wake up in the morning and maybe you had a long night before, you didn't get your full 8 hours or whatever, you have the puffy eyes. Now, that is because of the accumulation of lymph. And there's lots of things that ladies do to move that. They do the cucumber thing, they do the ice packs. My daughter has these little ice packs that go here. There's all kinds of beauty things. Believe it or not, there's actually something you can do that's free. It's a massage. And I found this also. And I'll link that video below as well. There's like a tapping down here, and it's just light. Let's see, this way would be better. It's just a light massage around here to move it. And if you feel any kind of like a little hurt, if you press on the hurt just long enough until it releases, and then continue to move, you'll notice that your puffiness will go away. One of the things that I found, I don't know where this came from, but apparently this is some kind of facial massage, right? I think this is a stone, and I want to say that it might be lapis or maybe even sodalite. But this stone helps to move. It's like a fascia facial massage thing. And so I've actually been doing this, and this is starting to help the dark circles under my eyes and also the puffiness under my eyes as well. And it's combating these frown lines that I get right here, and then the frown lines up here. And I've just been doing this and massaging it, down towards the heart area, and I'm noticing a difference in my skin, at least in my facial skin with that. Another thing is brushing. Now, this is the one that moves the fascia, the lymph on the fascia, which is the subcutaneous area. And we actually use this brush as a therapy for my daughter when she was younger. We had her in a therapy, a few therapy sessions, and it was recommended that she do dry brushing. This is a facial brush that my sister gave me. She is married to a Vietnamese guy, and her sister-in-law gave her this stuff. So, hey, I'm not live. This is an actual video. Can you close my door back, please? So my sister gave me this from her sister-in-law, and this is an Asian facial brush. Now I've seen maybe a softer bristle. This bristle is a little stiff, and it kind of hurts actually. And I've seen a few videos where women are brushing their face, and they do one side and then they do the other, and there's an obvious difference. Now I did that with this brush, and I saw the difference right away. I brushed my eyebrow up, and it pretty much stayed there. And there's this one, I think it was a short maybe, where this woman said it was this muscle and you brush to this muscle and you do this muscle and this muscle does that. And I mean, she was very technical about the whole thing, but I follow her diagram or her method, and there's an obvious difference of using this. So I don't know if that might not be so much on the lymph side. It might be more on the fascia, the fascial massage arena, but this definitely does help when I have puffy eyes. The massage this way helps with the puffy eyes as well. And these are just great tools that I have had, and I don't know where this came from. I'm sure my kids, I don't know where it came from, but it's mine now and I use it daily. So those are the two of the things that I use. Another thing that I will mention, which I think is helping my dark circles, is massaging my temples. So I will massage here, and just finding a pressure point and holding that pressure point for a few breaths, letting it out, I think is really relieving some of the pressure. My temples used to be extremely sensitive, and it would hurt for me to do this. And now that I've been massaging for just a tad for a little bit, it's not as tense, and I'm noticing that the dark circles in my eyes are not so far. They're a little bit closer to my nose. So I don't know, maybe that's improving the circulation. Another thing that I would like to add about the fascia is like I said, it's everywhere. You have like a bodysuit of fascia. So my hair was falling out. Actually, my hair is very thin towards the end because it was just falling out, and I guess this is new growth hair up closer. Maybe I should cut this off, but anyway. And what I started doing, I changed my shampoo, but I also started doing head massages, working the fascia in my skull, and just massaging this. So on the days that I wash my hair, which is roughly about 2 times a week, I will massage my entire scalp gets maybe about a 4-minute massage. And again, if there's a pressure point anywhere, you also have lymph nodes back here too. If there's a pressure point anywhere, I'll hold that point until it releases, and then I'll continue to massage. And another thing that I do is a little bit of hair pulling as well, and that will kind of loosen up the fascia. And that's a new thing that I've done is the hair pulling and loosening it up that way. But when I started the scalp massage, I noticed a clear difference in the number of hairs that was growing. Like, I used to be able to see almost like cornrows, I could see how my hair was thinning and how just thin it looked. And then I started doing that scalp massage, and it's not as thin anymore, and it's really starting to fill in, and I can definitely feel that my hair is a lot thicker, especially in this kind of shoulder area region, because I've been doing that for almost a year now. And I've noticed a big difference. So there was probably like a lot of stuff stuck lymph here, or maybe it was like a fascia thing. I'm not sure, but that really helped. Definitely helped. So another thing that helps, one thing I should mention that Dr. Huberman mentioned is the alcohol intake. If you have had alcohol within the past couple of days, that's going to create some brain fog. And of course, that is a poison. Alcohol is a poison to our bodies. And so if that's stuck in the body, that's going to create some brain fog as well. And so when we want to get a very good night's sleep, and in order to do that, we need it to be cool. We need, he said the side sleeping is the best way to drain the lymph. And he also said maybe slightly elevating the legs as well. And let's see. And that's basically it as far as how to combat some of that stuff. So I'll also link a video of a man who, if you can't exercise, you can't do the swimming, you can't do the rebounding for whatever reason. I have a hurt foot, so I'm unable to exercise. I don't like exercising anyway. And I do eventually want to get back to dancing. I do want to get back to dancing. The ceremonial aspect of that was just amazing for me. So sleeping on the side, a cool area. You might want to elevate your feet slightly, maybe a small pillow. Hydrate. He recommended upon waking, drink 16 to 32 ounces of water, and then every 2 hours have 8 to 16 ounces. So hydrate well. You get those things moving throughout your body. And one thing he did mention, which is kind of popular right now, is the red light therapy. Now, I turn on, we have red LED lights. I don't know if that's a red light. But I turn on the red LED lights at night to help me go to sleep, to help my body get the signals that it's time for bed. And so I've kind of been doing red light therapy, not even really knowing that it was red light therapy. But he did say that those longer wave light helps to also move the lymph. And he says that it really penetrates the skin and gets to your mitochondria as well, which the mitochondria is a part of the cell that creates the ATP, which gives us energy. So if you're like a nerd like me and you want to hear all about that stuff, check out his video. Like I said, it's about an hour and a half long, but it's some pretty cool stuff. So that's all I have about the lymph. The puffy eyes, this massage works really well. The tapping right here also is part of the massage. And I really like this. This really helps to move. And then, of course, this brushing. The brushing in the morning helps to... Maybe it exfoliates my skin as well, because these, like I said, these are not soft. There's a nice soft looking brush that is on the internet right now, and I don't know how much it costs, but it looks really soft, and maybe I should buy that. So if you have any questions, let me know. I would love to answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next video. Oh, and I know I told a few of my viewers about a video that I was going to do about quantum field and how it creates our reality, and how we have the capability of creating our reality. And I still need to do a little bit more research. Isn't quite the right word. I think the problem is that I'm having a hard time articulating what I'm trying to say, which is kind of weird. But I think I need more words to explain what I'm trying to say. So that video is going to be coming up shortly. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.